Usage share of operating systems.
The usage share of operating systems is the percentage market share of the operating systems used in computers. Different categories of computers use a wide variety of operating systems, so the total usage share varies enormously from one category to another. In certain categories, one family of operating systems dominates. For example, most desktop and laptop computers use Microsoft Windows, while most supercomputers use Linux. In other categories, such as smartphones and servers, there is more diversity. Data about operating system share is difficult to obtain, since in most categories there are few reliable primary sources or agreed methodologies for its collection.
Desktop and laptop computers.
There is little openly published information on the usage share of desktop and laptop computers. Gartner publishes estimates, but the way the estimates are calculated is not openly published. Also, sales may overstate usage. Most computers are sold with a pre-installed OS. Some users replace that OS with a different one due to personal preference, or install another OS alongside it and use both. Conversely, sales underestimate usage by not counting infringing copies. For example, in 2009, approximately 80% of software sold in China was pirated. In 2007, the statistics from an automated push of an IE7 update onto legal copies of Windows contrasted with observed web browser share, leading one author to estimate that 25 to 35% of all Windows XP installations are illegal.
Web clients.
The following information on web clients is obtained from the user agent information supplied to web servers by web browsers. These figures are inaccurate for a variety of reasons. For a discussion on the shortcomings, see usage share of web browsers. The most recent data from various sources published during the last 6 months is summarized in the table below. All of these sources monitor a substantial number of websites. Statistics related to one website only are excluded. The other column is obtained by summing all percentage data and subtracting from 100%.
Tablet computers.
Tablet computers, or simply tablets, became a significant OS market share category starting with Apple's iOS-based iPad. There have been 170 million iPads sold as of October 2013.
Mobile devices.
Mobile operating systems that can be found on smartphones include Google's Android, Apple's iOS, Nokia's Symbian, BlackBerry's BlackBerry OS, Microsoft's Windows Mobile and its successor Windows Phone 7 and later 8, Samsung's Bata and Tizen, and LG's Web OS. Android and Web OS are in turn built on top of Linux, and iOS is derived from Darwin-like OS X, which in turn is built upon the BSD and NeXT-STEP operating systems. Linux, BSD, and NeXT-STEP are all related to Unix. Many statistics sites also consider tablet operating systems as part of the mobile OS market share.
Servers on the Internet.
Internet-based servers' market share can be measured with statistical surveys of publicly accessible servers, such as web servers, mail servers or DNS servers on the Internet. The operating system powering such servers is found by inspecting raw response messages. This method gives insight only into market share of operating systems that are publicly accessible on the Internet. There will be differences in the result depending on how the sample is done and observations weighted. Usually the surveys are not based on a random sample of all IP numbers, domain names, hosts or organizations, but on servers found by some other method. Additionally, many domains and IP numbers may be served by one host and some domains may be served by several hosts or by one host with several IP numbers. A method to measure the overall server market, rather than subsets like publicly accessible web servers, is to count server hardware sales, using data from server manufacturers. Using this method, market share can be measured either in units or in revenue. In either case, the measure refers to server hardware, not to software. Units refers to the number of physical servers running a given OS, and revenue refers to hardware revenue for physical servers running that OS. It does not refer to software licensing or support revenue, which often varies considerably from one OS to another.
Mainframes.
According to a 2008 report, nearly 95% of Fortune 1000 companies use IBM's information management system.
Linux as guest on mainframes.
Operating systems for IBM System Z generation hardware include IBM's bundled proprietary Z/OS, Linux on System Z, and as of October 7, 2008, the prototype Open Solaris for System Z. Gartner reported on December 23, 2008 that Linux on System Z was used on approximately 28% of the customer Z base, and that they expected this to increase to over 50% in the following 5 years. Of Linux on System Z, Red Hat and Novell compete to sell RHEL and SLES respectively. Prior to 2006, Novell claimed a market share of 85% or more. Red Hat has since claimed 18.4% in 2007 and 37% in 2008. Gartner reported at the end of 2008 that Novell had an 80% share of mainframe Linux.
Supercomputers.
The TOP 500 project lists and ranks the 500 fastest supercomputers that benchmark results are submitted for. It publishes the collected data twice a year.
Market share by category.
Note: embedded and real-time segments are vast categories with subcategories including automotive, avionics, health, medical equipment, consumer electronics, intelligent homes, telecommunications. The aggregated information above may be very different for each subcategory taken separately.